here's what I got going on. So I've talked about it before. This was a column shift car. You can kind of see the hump I cut off and did all that. So three on tree. So the SS's and a few others, they had a floor shift option, and this is what you call a bench seat shifter. That's why it's got that big old U, because it's designed for the bench seat. Either way, that was on it. So they make a kit. It's a big metal piece that you cut out and you weld this in. That was done before I owned the car 20 years ago. I don't know, a long time ago. When it was done, I've talked about this before, it was done too far back. As you can see, I had to bend this even further because it was hitting. So this was supposed to be up. Because it's back so far, the boot that was supposed to be on here, it's overstretched, so it literally pulls on it really bad. It sucks trying to shift, especially in first and third. Anything forward, because you're just yanking on the boot really bad. So I found a Toyota boot, I believe beside of a Toyota, that's a lot longer. So as you can see, it's a lot bigger than the hole. I'm sure I can spend more time and find one, which I spent a lot of time finding that would work, that would fit this, but I'm not even going to play with that anymore. So I've already started, and I thought, well, I'll just do a video on it. So I've already getting a template, so I'm going to cut this out, and then right now I'm about to take this over to the metal. Unfortunately, I don't have one piece, so this is going to take a lot longer. I have to use two pieces. I'll have to weld them together to be big enough. I'm basically making them the size of this paper. And then when I get the metal, I'll put that here. And then I'll put this on where it needs to go. And then trace this out on this. And then I'll cut it, and then of course paint it and all that. Then I'll mount this on here, and then I'll mount the boot onto the bigger plate, and then that should seal it up nicely. It doesn't really matter, it's going to overhang back here, so you can see back here it's going to overhang. That the boot does too. All this is going to be a center console, so all this will be covered. And I may even change it. I may put another boot on the center console. We'll see how all that goes. But either way, all this will be covered up with the center console anyway. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. So I'm going to go trace this out on the steel. I'm actually debating. Yeah, I want to put it on the steel, and then I got to put... Actually, I might hit two birds with one stone. I'm probably going to mount this right now. If I can keep this in this place right here. And then put the boot on, draw it around, so then I can cut it, and I can do it all at once. Okay, so I got template done. And I'm just going to cut it with some scissors. And then I'm going to trace that over here. Like I said, I'm going to have to use, unfortunately, two pieces of steel. I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to mark the template on it first, cut it out, and then I got to weld it to here to make one. It sucks, but there's nothing I can do about it. Alright, so what I did was, this was the one on the car when I got it. It was bent. I had to straighten it out because it was hitting when it was in first gear. So what I did was, try not to drill. There's already holes here. There's one under here. See right there. And one here. So obviously there's not one here. So anyways, here we go. So this has 3 holes. It was made that way, looking at the dimples. So I lined it up with the previous holes. Then I set this on top of it where I wanted it. Then what I did is I reached in, grabbed this one carefully, and I picked them up together, flipped it over, used a pin and marked the holes. That's what I did. So now these holes, we got 5 holes lined up, and I'll be able to add some here and here. Then I got to figure out how to attach that. These are fake. That's where it's plastic welded. So what I didn't show, which now I remember, it had a plastic piece here that it kind of locked itself in, and it had 2 pieces here. So I think these had, like, trying to hold this thing, these came up and then were like that in little slots. So you slid it in and you snapped it back down. That's how it originally went. So obviously we're not doing that. So what I'll probably do, I was going to drill these out and put screws in, but I don't want to do that because that's holding this plate to this plate, which is sandwiching this. I don't want to mess with that. So what I'll probably do is mark one there, one there, one here, one here, just 4, and screw it onto this plate. That's probably what I'll do. So, and then this one, I can add one more right in here. Good spot. We'll do that. So I'll do that. I'll mark that there, and I gotta pull the carpet back and get it in there. And then this should be set. And then we'll work on that. It's all done finally. Took a while. It's good to go. Repaint those. Who knows? Who cares? But works, functional, complete, beautiful. The boot's not fighting the shifter at all. Go in reverse. That's the hardest one. Yep, good to go.